Learning objectives. At the end of this topic, you will be able to familiarize with biographies of scientists and their work in discovering the cell, understand the term structural and functional unit of a living organism, explore different shapes, sizes, and number of cells that make an organism or organisms, comprehend that cell is a unit of structure and function of an organism, identify the role of parts of a cell related to the function of an organism, differentiate between unicellular and multicellular organisms. Introduction. Sheila and her mother went to the market to buy vegetables. You have already learned that things around us are either living or non-living. Further, can you recall that all living organisms carry out certain basic functions?
Walking, talking, etc.
Right. Different sets of organs perform the various functions you've listed. In this chapter, I shall teach you about the basic structural unit of an organ, which is the cell. Cells may be compared to bricks. Bricks are assembled to make a building. Similarly, cells are assembled to make the body of every organism. Discovery of the cell. Robert Hooke in 1665 observed slices of cork under a simple magnifying device. Cork is a part of a bark of a tree. He took thin slices of cork and observed them under a microscope. He noticed partitioned boxes or compartments in the cork slice. These boxes appeared like a honeycomb. He also noticed that one box was separated from the other by a wall or partition. Hooke coined the term cell for each box. What Hooke observed as boxes or cells in the cork were actually dead cells. Cells of living organisms could be observed only after the discovery of improved microscopes. Very little was known about the cell for the next 150 years after Robert Hooke's observations. Today, we know a lot about cell structure and its functions because of improved microscopes having high magnification. The cell. Both bricks in a building and cells in the living organisms are basic structural units. The buildings, though built of similar bricks, have different designs, shapes, and sizes. Similarly, in the living world, organisms differ from one another, but all are made up of cells. Cells in the living organisms are complex living structures, unlike non-living bricks. Organisms show variety in cell number, shape, and size. Scientists observe and study the living cells using microscopes which magnify objects. Stains, dyes, are used to color parts of the cell to study the detailed structure. There are millions of living organisms. They're of different shapes and sizes. Their organs also vary in shape, size, and number of cells. Let's study about some of them. Human body has trillions of cells, which vary in shapes and sizes. Different groups of cells perform a variety of functions. Organisms made of more than one cell are called multicellular, many, cellular, cell organisms. The number of cells being less in smaller organisms does not in any way affect the functioning of the organism. An organism with billions of cells begins life as a single cell, which is the fertilized egg. The fertilized egg cell multiplies and the number of cells increases as development proceeds. Both organisms are made up of a single cell. The single-celled organisms are called unicellular organisms. Uni means one and cellular means cell. A single-celled organism performs all the necessary functions that multicellular organisms perform. A single-celled organism, like amoeba, captures and digests food, respires, excretes, grows, and reproduces. Similar functions in multicellular organisms are carried out by groups of specialized cells forming different tissues. Tissues, in turn, form organs. Let's move to the shape of cells. The shape of amoeba appears irregular. In fact, amoeba has no definite shape unlike other organisms. It keeps on changing its shape. The projections of varying lengths protruding out of its body. These are called pseudopodia. Pseudo means false and podia means feet. These projections appear and disappear as amoeba moves or feeds. A white blood cell, WBC, in human blood is another example of a single cell which can change its shape. But while WBC is a cell, amoeba is a full-fledged organism capable of independent existence. The different cells such as blood, muscle, and nerve cells of human beings are related to their specific functions. Generally, cells are round, spherical, or elongated. Some cells are long and pointed at both ends. They exhibit spindle shape. Cells sometimes are quite long. Some are branched like the nerve cell or a neuron. The nerve cell receives and transfers messages, thereby helping to control and coordinate the working of different parts of the body. The components of the cell are enclosed in a membrane. This membrane provides shape to the cells of plants and animals. Cell wall is an additional covering over the cell membrane in plant cells. It gives shape and rigidity to these cells. Bacterial cell also has a cell wall. Let's discuss about the size of cells. The size of cells in living organisms may be as small as a millionth of a meter, micrometer or micron, or may be as large as a few centimeters. However, most of the cells are microscopic in nature and are not visible to the unaided eye. They need to be enlarged or magnified by a microscope. The smallest cell is 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer in bacteria. The largest cell measuring 170 millimeters into 130 millimeters is the egg of an ostrich. The size of the cells have no relation with the size of the body of the animal or plant. It's not necessary that the cells in an elephant be much larger than those in a rat. The size of the cell is related to its function. For example, nerve cells, both in elephants and rats, are long and branched. They perform the same function, that of transferring messages. Cell structure and function. We have learned that each living organism has many organs. The digestive organs, which together constitute the digestive system. Each organ in the system performs different functions, such as digestion, assimilation, and absorption. Similarly, different organs of a plant perform specific or specialized functions. For example, roots help in the absorption of water and minerals. Leaves are responsible for synthesis of food. Each organ is further made up of smaller parts called tissues. A tissue is a group of similar cells performing a specific function. The basic components of a cell are cell membrane, cytoplasm, and nucleus. The cytoplasm and nucleus are enclosed within the cell membrane, also called the plasma membrane. The membrane separates cells from one another and also the cell from the surrounding medium. The plasma membrane is porous and allows the movement of substances or materials both inward and outward. The boundary of the onion cell is the cell membrane covered by another thick covering called the cell wall. The central dense round body in the center is called the nucleus. The jelly-like substance between the nucleus and the cell membrane is called the cytoplasm. In addition to the cell membrane, there is an outer thick layer in the cells of plants called cell wall. This additional layer surrounding the cell membrane is required by the plants for protection. Plant cells need protection against variations in temperature, high wind speed, atmospheric moisture, etc. They are exposed to these variations because they cannot move. Cells can be observed in the leaf peel of Tradescantia, Elodia, or Royo. Cytoplasm is the jelly-like substance present between the cell membranes and the nucleus. Various other components or organelles of cells are present in the cytoplasm. These are mitochondria, Golgi bodies, ribosomes, etc. Nucleus is an important component of the living cell. It's generally spherical and located in the center of the cell. It can be stained and seen easily with the help of a microscope. Nucleus is separated from the cytoplasm by a membrane called the nuclear membrane. This membrane is also porous and allows the movement of materials between the cytoplasm and the inside of the nucleus. With a microscope of higher magnification, we can see a smaller spherical body in the nucleus. It's called the nucleolus. In addition, nucleus contains thread-like structures called the chromosomes. These carry genes and help in the inheritance or transfer of characteristics from the parent to the offspring. The chromosomes can be seen only when the cell divides. Nucleus, in addition to its role in inheritance, acts as the control center of the activities of the cell. The entire content of a living cell is known as protoplasm. It includes the cytoplasm and the nucleus. Protoplasm is called the living substance of the cell. While observing the onion cells under the microscope, we notice blank-looking structures in the cytoplasm. It's called vacuole. It could be single and big as an onion cell. Cheek cells have smaller vacuoles. Large vacuoles are common in plant cells. We also notice several other colored bodies in the cytoplasm of the cells of Tradescantia leaf. They are scattered in the cytoplasm of the leaf cells. These are called plastids. They are of different colors. Some of them contain green pigment called the chlorophyll. Green-colored plastids are called chloroplasts. They provide green color to the leaves. Chlorophyll in the chloroplasts of leaves is essential for photosynthesis. Let us compare plant and animal cells. Let us tabulate the similarities and distinguishing features of plants and animal cells. Summary. Let's summarize the topic. Basic structural units includes both bricks in a building and cells in the living organism. A single-celled organism performs all the necessary functions that multicellular organisms perform. The different cells of human beings are related to their specific functions. The size of cells in living organisms may be as small as a millionth of a meter, micrometer, or micron, or may be as large as a few centimeters.